Skol Chat. Tonight we're going to be talking about always the new NFL rules. So tonight with us we have Joe on the top right, Dano on the top left, and we Don on the bottom. And we're going to go what our thoughts are on OTAs and the new NFL rules. So if anybody has some comments, feel free to add them in there. Any questions, especially if you guys like what we're talking about, like and subscribe to us. So
All
starting
right,
out
so
with
let's.
OTAs, you got the organized team activities. I brought up earlier that not all of them are mandatory and that have three different phases. The first two are not mandatory, but the third one is. Your guys' thoughts on that?
I think it's preferred to have all the players there. I mean, there's some players that don't, that kind of skip the first two for sure and just go to the third phase. But I mean, like this year, Justin Jefferson's there for the first year, our first time in a couple of years, so that's exciting. But yeah, I think they should all be there. But again, so within their contract and the player union kind of negotiates that. So, but yeah, I think it's preferred to have everybody there.
Well, according to
Yeah,
O'Connell, what I was going to say, according to O'Connell, all but a few guys on the team there were there like today. Everybody been there from the beginning of this session of OTAs, except for two or three guys for some reason or other. So it seems to me that the Vikings had fairly good turnouts with, everybody showing up there, like he said, Jefferson and Hawkinson, Addison were out there. And yeah,
you got some players just kissing up to the coaches, huh?
who knows? They just, I think they're serious about getting out there and try to build the cohesiveness of the, team, Beside that, it seemed like most of the people that the Vikings sign or drafted or whatever, they really enjoy playing football and they like to be there with they call their brothers.
Really need that
Yeah,
veteran
they do
presence,
give them.
especially with the changes on the amount of changes on the O line this year. At the center, the quarterback, the guard. I mean, there's some major changes. So hopefully those veterans were there to help, get those guys dialed in as much as they can during this time. So.
Well, O'Connell did say that, Prize, he hasn't been out there, but he's there working out and whatever and doing what he needs to do. And there's a possibility, maybe come out do a couple things, or if not this week, when they have mini camp, he might be there. But otherwise, he'll be out there when training camp opens up and be ready to, for the training camp session. So I thought that was good news. And also, O'Connell did say that Blake Brandel was playing left guard, right guard, flopping back and forth, along with the rookies. So, and some other guys.
Yeah, how's that working with the ones that aren't guaranteed? With OTAs, because a lot of them most can show up for OTAs and they're not getting paid, direct. But in most contracts, you could just have a bonus for working out into all of them, and
Well, if you're talking about the free agents, the rookie free agents that didn't get any sign-on bonus or any other kind of bonus, if they want to make the team, they're going to be out there to every one of them OTAs.
yeah, you think?
They want to try to earn a contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure of how that works. I mean, there is a negotiated contract that they signed that they're going to get this X amount of money. But when does that start? Is that only if they play, week one or week one of the preseason or week one of the NFL season? I mean, or does it start like if it's like an organized team activity? Do they get paid that prorated amount per week, for per day, I guess, for the workouts? I don't know. I guess I never really looked that deeply into it.
Yeah.
Well,
They get paid bonuses on incentives on according to their contract. They show up for their OTAs. Like I said, they have three first two that they go or not. The third one's mandatory, but the more you attend to, the better chance that you're going to receive a bonus or some sort of or incentive along the way. But
Yeah, well, I guess, I myself always assume, regardless if you've been drafted, unless you're a veteran, and if you're the number one, number two, number three guy on the team or whatever, according to his contract or whatever. But I think, being a undrafted free agent, rookies, whatever, you definitely want to be there to show
yeah,
the coaching staff and Quasi that they're serious about being, there, that they want to be part of the team, so. I guess regardless if they get paid or not but I always assume that whatever contract they sign, that's, means that they're going to get paid, how it works. I know during the games, they're paid so much and whatever for being there, but I don't know that, there's a lot of different things that go on to that.
yep. Maybe it just depends on how much they get their butt whooped on in their first the OTAs or the second. Everybody wants to show up and be a whoopee cushion or back, I should say. Being the rookie, all the veterans are there to let them know, hey, this is our team. Better show it. They deserve to be on it.
Yeah, well, I know that depending on what room they're in, if they're old lineman room or whatever, I know like the veterans so insists on rookies, to make sure the water bottle cooler is plumb full of water, and they have to go out and buy all these snacks, so they can chew on them. And yeah, there's all kinds of pranks going on, but I guess it's not like
Well, I'm
what
sure.
it used to be though, because of the all these harassments or whatever. You can't anymore.
Hazing. So no more hazing anymore.
Right.
Yep. So used to tie or tape people to the goalposts and then leave them there, and a bunch of weird stuff in the shower. Who knows?
I remember
Yeah.
that back in high school. It's like, oh, I'm glad I wasn't one of them.
You talk about high school. I can remember I was in, back then we called it junior high. It wasn't middle school. But, anyways, I went out for football. And, anyways, one of the last drills of the practice had the varsity offense out there. And I was picked to be one of the defensive linemen. And to me, I didn't get the drip of it, but I was just following the coaches, what he wanted us to do. Now, it didn't make no sense to me. Two lines were supposed to get up and start pushing each other, and then go to the ground. And then the running back was supposed to, go over the line or whatever. And so I reached out and grabbed the toes of the running back, and he went down to the ground. And to this day, I don't understand why, once we all stood up, the coach and everybody else, the D line that I was on, the offensive line, they all looked at me, didn't say a word. Hey, here, I thought I'd done a great job. I put down the running back. So I don't know. Maybe I wasn't supposed to.
I have no idea what that drill would have been.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sounds like a bunch of slap ass to me.
yeah,
That's like no point to it.
guys are all just
Engage in blocking and then drop to the ground, and then he wasn't supposed to jump over them or over.
Well, I don't know.
What running back supposed to do?
I don't know. I laid there and I watched running back kind of tiptoe between the legs of the old lineman and then coming across the line. And I just happened to be down on the ground and somebody kind of half laying on my legs and that. I don't know if or what. And here comes that running back tipping, pulling through. And as he was going by, I just stuck out my hand, Well, I couldn't figure why. I seen a couple other linemen kind of reach, but they weren't really, trying to make a big effort of it. But yeah, I grabbed his foot, top of his foot there, and yeah, he went down. And I kind of got that look like,
Like roughness.
yeah.
You were already down. Nobody was messing with you, trying to stir the pot.
Or was it kind of like you're killing me, Schmo? You're killing me, Krieger. Weren't paying attention to the drill because they did it twice before that, and you weren't paying attention. And then, no, I'm kidding.
I don't know. Could have. I was working out
My
with
question.
junior high squad.
You were practicing against the varsity in junior high?
Yeah.
That's even worse. Then you really get messed with.
You
They
know
didn't
that-
tie your laces up when you're in the bench. Then they call you up to run out there and you plant.
I don't know. It's like I said, Ed, to this day I wonder why I got all that.
Was that Wyckoff when it was just Wyckoff by itself before
Oh, it's Spring
they
Valley.
consolidated? So it's Spring Valley.
Valley. And
Did they have a small team back then or what?
no shit. A junior high team, we had three for the junior high. So I can't remember. Varsity was called, the coach referred to them as the Wolves, and I think we were the Cubs, you know. But there was three squads on the junior high. That's how many players we had. And the coach would have, like the offense, he had three of the primarily, well, I had some other receivers and some different running backs, but had three quarterbacks and three O lines, and you know, and sprinkled in extra wide receiver, you know, that probably wasn't playing on the main squad that was playing. So I ended up like on the second or third one, I can't remember, but we were playing Grand Meadow game, and the coach put me, I wanted to be defense, but he put me on the O line, and I was a tackle. And anyways, no, a guard, I think. Yeah, a guard. Anyways, opposite of me, the Grand Meadow guy, I looked at him. He had to been about 4 inches taller than I and had to weigh at least 3 times what I weighed. And I go to myself, am I supposed to block this guy? So I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? And the center hiked the ball. I ran up to the big guy and I pushed. And when he started pushing on me, I stepped back and he flat on his face. That was,
I thought you were going to tell me you laid on the ground and grabbed his foot.
I put him on the ground.
That was my go-to move, grabbing feet. Like that old coach for the Jets. What was his name? Rex Ryan? I'm into feet.
yeah.
Or that whole story about
This
him.
time,
Yeah.
this time you're opposite side, Daniel. They were trying to pull at your feet off the guy. Way to go.
Yeah, it's just like Reb. He was one of the smallest guys on the team, but he would go and grab those guys' legs, right? They'd be running down the field, dragging them with, but he'd slow them down enough for the other guys to finally come up and tackle.
I remember seeing that.
The ball.
Wasn't
All
he
right, so
trying
Dan,
to
learn
the ball out at the same time? He was trying to, while he was grabbing, I thought I'd seen him a couple times trying to swat the ball out of the guy's hand. And all the while, Rivers hanging on to him. The guy,
Yeah. So what'd you learn from O'Connell today there, Daniel?
well, like I said, most of the guys being there talked about McCarthy, and he was impressed that there was something that, wow, they were out there, some play or something that McCarthy was going through, and then MacArthur remembers something, certain play or whatever from what they were working on 11th week or whatever last year. He brought it up just like that, you know. What, you know. So O'Connell was
I don't recall that.
impressed with that. And then otherwise, was talking about, you know, the whole idea of being out there was to, you know, not worried about if you make a mistake. It's just that learn from that, move on. And then if anything bad, you know, like incomplete or interception or whatever the deal is, from that point, they work backwards from on the film, go through step by step to see if it was a poor throw, or was it a defense there, or was it the receiver not in the right spot, or stuff like that. So, but other
I
than
can imagine they go over that. All the videos and stuff. I can imagine the players just get burnt out over watching it. Maybe the rookies, they might pay attention to that, but a lot of the veterans are like, I don't need to see this again. We're starting fresh this year.
well, this is during OTAs. What they do, they have it on film. So when they get done, they go into meetings and go over this and that. What went wrong? What did you? Was it something, like the quarterback? Did he do something wrong when he threw the ball or whatever? It just the thing is, it's okay to make mistake as long as you learn from that mistake. But if it's repeated, so is it that O'Connell himself, along with the coaching staff, are not teaching so can get the drift of it, or is it the person not understanding what they're trying to get across, that type of thing, So it's not like, the players, especially the young ones, if they screw up on something, it's not like they're getting a tail end reaming, So,
Yeah, it's still good for them, but again, there's so many things that add into the mix. Somebody arguing with so and so, or so many things that add in and how the game goes prior to practice, pregame.
yeah.
But it is good for them to go over there and review all those.
I think this early they're mainly just running drills. They're not even throwing. If they're throwing, they're
Yeah.
not running full plays, not running 7-on-7s or anything like that.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are.
Are they?
Yep. In fact, some questions were asked about some of the rookies or the undrafted free agents and the defense and that, And O'Connell was saying, well, split field and doing this and that. And all it is going through drills and like, his seeing them where wide receivers lined up or whatever in the quarterback, it's like the ball is tight to him and he go through his drop backs and all that and throw it to the receiver. That's what some of the other ones are doing. But like with McCarthy and the O line, other than like Blake Brandel was in there playing some at left guard, then playing some at right guard, moving around tackles and whatever position. And they were going through 7-on-7, That's where he was talking about, where yeah, apparently I haven't heard the whole scoop, but I got the impression there was some throw that McCarthy made that whoops or whatever. So that's where O'Connell was talking about that they take the end of that play or that particular instance and they go back from the time the ball got there and go back to McCarthy and see if it was the defensive player there knocking it out or the receiver wasn't there on time or if it was McCarthy throwing the bad ball because of his footing or what have you. So yeah, they were going through all that.
So should we kind of go over some of the NFL rule changes? Sounds like there's some. I don't think there's a whole lot, I guess, but go over them and see what our thoughts are here. We want to, so I start off, one of them with their kickoff for the off returns, start them back off at the 35-yard line from where they stood. Just, encourage them to do a normal kickoff, rather than an onside kick. Am I right? I don't know if anybody else saw that one rule on there.
Yeah. So
Kickoff return.
if they kick it off and there's a touchback, then the offense right at the 35-yard line instead of the 30-yard line. So it's moved closer to the opponent's goal by 5 yards.
Take that. I mean, that 5 yards doesn't sound like much, but I tell you, depending on where you're at in the game, that will help you out.
Well,
But yeah, I'm assuming that it's going to try to get more people to return the ball because there was quite a few less kick returns last year. Because they know they're just going to.
Yeah, there was a lot of
too. Yeah, they don't want to kick it in the end zone. They want to try and kick it in the field of play. to entice somebody to return it.
Well, was there anything said about moving the kickoff back, or is it the ball being
Well, I think it's the
placed
same
on
spot.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's still it's the 20-yard line, right? The kickoff from.
I thought it was like the 35-yard line or something like that.
No,
I don't think it was. I don't think it was that far. No, I think they're at the 20-yard.
It's at 35.
Well, because I can remember one penalty or whatever last year for the kickoff, the ball was moved up to the 40-yard line.
I think it's a 35 because with their onside kick rules, it's at the 34-yard line now for the onside kick instead of 35.
so maybe it's 25 because that would be so it has to get to 34 yards, the 34-yard line.
Well, they're saying for the onside kick, they have to kick off from the 34-yard line instead of 35.
Okay, so maybe I'm off.
Well,
I assume it's the same spot. And I think they used to kick off from the 20. Maybe I'm thinking of like from years past, but they did move it up not too many years ago up to maybe 30, 35-yard line.
then they tested the dynamic kickoff last year where the players can't move until the ball is caught. That is now permanent.
Yeah.
They're still letting that push roll, though. They're still letting it roll, at least this year, anyway.
Well, they couldn't get the 24 votes that they needed.
Yeah, but I think Goodell still wants to push that. I think there was an article on that. Him still wanting to push that. Obviously, can't do it for this year, but wants to try it again for next year, I believe. They did add some of that in with the replay assist for some of the penalties, not all of them, but they did, approve replay assist for some of the penalties, like the face mask,
The Hawkeye.
roughing the passer. What was the other one?
The Hawkeye one in there, but
Yeah, hits on defensive receivers, yeah, players.
And roughing the kicker. And then they can
Yeah.
challenge if a penalty was called. They can now challenge a couple of the situations where they don't think that was actually a penalty. They can challenge it, and it can be reversed if they see the evidence on the film.
Okay, here's my
yeah, that's what the Hawkeye.
This is what bothers me. It does not.
Are you saying hot guy or Hawkeye? No, we were in a different position in my different previous job. One of the guys goes, I guess he was into the Marvels or Avengers. He's like, I'm thinking of getting a Hawkeye haircut, like the Hawkeye character from the Marvel movies. And the one guy's like, what? Did you just say a Hawkeye haircut?
But no,
Don't
the
give me
thing
one of
is,
them
there's
things.
nothing put in there about, where the, what do you call it? The one that watch in Skyview or in New York or wherever, the
Official?
replay official. They didn't put anything in there, which I think they ought to. Put the rule in there that replay official or whatever rep can call down to the field and say, hey, you missed a face mask on the quarterback.
So you're saying the no calls?
Yeah, the no calls. Yeah, there's some.
That was terrible last year.
The replays and that, they have a revealed the penalties or whatever. But my point is, if there's no flag thrown, the replay can't call in there and say, well, this was done, you need to throw a flag. Although
Right.
I've seen one instance for some play I can't remember last year, the ref threw the flag out there, that, there's a penalty, got the call, there's a penalty, but, because they said the eyes in the sky, type thing. That, I don't know. But
I think it depends
really,
on the
there hasn't been. What?
Daniel, you started talking at the same time Joe did. I think it's Joe's turn.
I was just saying, I think it was the time of the game it was, too. If it's within 2 minutes, there's more help from the replay official.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right, too. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oh, that's all I was saying. A situation where they can. But then again, we're going to get back to where it was in like the early 90s where like the games were almost 4 hours long because of all the play stops because they were trying to replay every single play. And that's why like I think 93, 94, they got rid of replay altogether to try and speed up the game. And then people were upset that they were missing so many calls, and so we're trying to. Seems like we're getting back to that situation again where we're playing everything, but
Well,
it's some plays need to be replayed like that. And I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the face mask on Sam Darnold against the Rams,
yep.
where there was that, and it was
Oh,
it was noticeable. I mean, everybody saw it. His head snapped around. I can't believe that guy was directly behind him and didn't that ref didn't see it. I don't know what he was paying
then,
attention to.
then wasn't it
Back to
Found
the eye
League, whoever
exams.
they played that behind the line of scrimmage, that Darnold's head got pulled, the face mask, and it didn't get called? So I think it
Was
was
it later
the
in the
same
year?
time Darnold lost the ball, and that's when O'Connell was ripping into the officials because, like doing like this, his head got pulled
That was in the
around.
end zone.
Well, that was for the Rams. I was talking about after the Rams game. There was another instance where Darnold was right there on camera, but the official didn't catch it.
Yeah, I can't quite
Yeah.
recall that one. I just remember the Rams one.
That was the biggest one.
But yeah, there should be a time and place, I guess, where the replay official can say, "Hey, this was a glaring penalty that you completely missed."
Yeah.
They should be able to at least call down and say, "Hey, you need to throw a flag on this," or yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And not the last 2 minutes of the quarter. They ought to be any time during the game. And I think that's what a lot of people was hollering about. You ought to make a rule or change the rule where the replay assist could pop that in there directly. So, but anyways,
only
I was
changed
going to say not a whole lot of change, really. Although the owners agreed on let the players go for the Olympics in 28.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna be
Well,
flag.
hopefully I don't let the refs.
Well, I don't know about the refs. I don't think they're going to go, but it's
I think they need to start going. They got to start going the whole concept that the players go through as far as drafting. Got their overall background, how call playing has been, how good your vision is. Can you stand on one foot at the same time?
Yeah. Well, I think they ought to make it full time so them
It was,
guys are actually sitting there studying films just like the players do and the coaches instead of.
they should be picked up. Some of it was terrible. The last couple of years has been terrible.
Well, you know what? Maybe they ought to go to the Olympics and be the refs there because, there's only 5 players on offense, 5 players on defense. And I guess this is for the Olympics and it's flag football. The field is only,
Oh.
30 yards wide? And the field is only 70 yards long.
That I don't know.
That's what it is. I learned that this morning. He learned it. Hey, yeah, right. I learned it
There you go.
on my committee.
Then, especially with NFL players. Although I wonder how many will opt in to play.
In the Olympics.
Yeah.
Well, there's a quarterback that been playing flag football, and he's one of the players that been pushing for it to be a thing in the Olympics. And I guess the guy is only like 5'6" or 7, only weighs 140 pounds. And he said he doesn't think that NFL players, the best of the best, could even handle playing flag football.
Yeah, that's
Then he also said he doesn't think it's fair that professional football players be allowed to play in that because, of course, professional football players, they've been playing football their entire life. They can win out the job just like that.
Yeah, the reason for the Olympics is send the best you got.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the NBA does and the NHL. I mean, they have pro players playing for the U.S. and yeah. So what difference is it for the NFL then?
Yeah.
But I mean, we are kind of getting pretty crazy with the different sports that are in the Olympics, though.
Yeah.
Right? Different events they're adding. It's getting pretty extreme.
Yeah. It's like, what is all this stuff going on?
Remember when they had breakdancing? Ray gun from Australia?
oh really? I never heard of it.
You never heard of that? Oh yeah, that was a big thing back during the last Olympics.
No.
there's a whole like how she got there and how she made it there. There's questions on it, and she wasn't a very good breakdancer for sure. But anyways,
So, what do you guys think of the possibilities of either Jalen Ramsey or Trayvon Diggs being picked up by the Vikings?
I don't know. I haven't heard too much about Diggs himself, but there've been some sputter out there about some media and some of these other podcasts talking about, should the Vikings trade for Ramsey? I guess he's not happy down there in Miami, Florida. Maybe he's tired of them mosquitoes biting him all the time.
I think there was some talk earlier. Wasn't it him before that some of the Vikings fans were talking about, wanting to get him? He didn't think it was serious at first, and then kind of realized by all the comments from the Vikings fans that it would be it really was something they wanted. And I think as long as if Trayvon Diggs, he's a great player, as long as he doesn't like his diva brother, could definitely use him.
Okay, what's it?
yeah, he's younger than
Go ahead.
he's younger than Ramsey, so I prefer that one. I prefer Diggs.
Myself.
But again, it depends on what it costs.
They kept some cap space to be able to pick somebody else up. So let's hope they get somebody. We do need some help in that room there.
Well, the question is, how much are you willing to see how much are you willing to see the Vikings give up for Ramsey? Because his contract is for 16 mil. So trading, the Vikings only got I'm sure they can do all their fancy bookworks, but didn't you say last week, Joe, that the Vikings had 14 mil left over so far?
I think it was closer to 15 million. But there are ways you can. There are ways that you could get the team that's trading the player to pay a portion of the salary too.
Yeah.
And the next question, what are you willing to give up? I heard, for an example, it could cost the Vikings third or fourth round and a seventh rounder for Ramsey. Now, after this year's draft only having 4 picks, we want to see the Vikings play in that game of trading picks for this player and that player, and only ended up with 5 picks or half dozen picks, So, and I hate to see the Vikings give up a third rounder,
I mean, there have been teams like the Eagles not too many years ago, and then even the Rams where they weren't worried about the draft. They were just getting people in free agency and making trades. So, and it worked out, I think, for both of them. I think they might have won the Super Bowl in each of those years where they didn't really have much draft capital.
Right. Yeah. They put everything on the line. Yeah.
Whereas we have how many years until we have to pay JJ McCarthy the bag,
Mm-hmm.
It's only, 3 more years from now? Well, I guess it's 5 years for the rookie contract.
Yep.
5
with first round pick.
First rounders is 5.
So now is the time to kind of maybe go all in on in some areas. But again, I don't know if they want to pay all that money at $2 million on one player. But yeah, Jalen Ramsey, yes. But I think he's averaging $24 million a year. Yeah, for his contract.
But I don't know.
I'm trying to take a peek and see what.
They haven't had any serious talks on it yet, as far as what he's got from what I've seen.
Well, that's the thing. There hasn't been any indication from the Vikings that they're even thinking about it,
But I don't think they'll tip their hand that much.
True. But, they could be talking back and forth. But then again, are they waiting to see if Miami gonna just cut him, Then don't have to worry about big old contracts,
I mean, even if somebody contacts the Vikings, hey, we'll trade this for Justin Jefferson, they're gonna listen to it if it's like 3 first round picks and you always have to keep every door open.
Right.
I mean, Ramsey and the Dolphins have agreed to, seek a trade, but there's nothing been, materialized from the talk that they had. I mean, there's so many rumors out there with him. You don't honestly know what's what until it actually happens.
Yeah, maybe that's where I'm
You know, it's had some knee injury.
He used to play for the Rams, plays for the Dolphins now, and the Rams are in on the conversation about maybe trading for him again. That's what I'm confused on. Okay.
Okay, what's with this Diggs now? What's the deal on him?
He's had some knee issues, so you know, he has had some time off for injury and stuff, which Minnesota seems to pick quite a bit of those guys up. So that's where Dallas is possibly looking at freeing up some of their salary cap space by getting rid of them as one of the potentials to get rid of to free up some salary cap space.
How much is he?
They could.
His cap hit in 2025 would be a little over 12.5 million.
Okay, so it's less than Ramsey.
I guess I don't know what the
How does that guy have food to eat? He's got to be barely making it. That poor son of a gun.
like Latrell Sprewell back in the day with the Wolves, where he turned down a big contract because he needed to feed his family. And then again, didn't sign, and then he washed out of the NBA not long after that. But yeah, that's quite a.
Hey, he comes to Minnesota, you get EBT real easy. They get that shit out.
Perfect. They're getting flooded in Minnesota.
Nice folks from Chicago come here just because the benefits are so nice.
Yeah, but there used to be a guy when I worked at the jail in Rochester, one of the slumlords of the city that was spent some time there. But he was actually advertising billboards down in Chicago for him to come here because of the housing, the money, the cash benefit, and the food stamp benefit for Minnesota. He got himself in some trouble and ended up on the other side of the bars from me.
Well, I wonder if that learned him anything.
I haven't heard anything about him for a long time.
He just got smarter on how to be a better criminal.
Don't advertise it.
Hey, everybody, I'm breaking the law. Come and get me.
Pay off a few politicians, you can do just about anything.
Right. You know, it's kind of like a football game when everybody sees that the call was absolutely, you know, the opposite of what was called. And it's still, yeah, you might, you know, take a second guess, you know, who's controlling what.
The ref leaves the gate one game 1 week in a pinto when he shows up in a Jaguar next week, you know something's going on.
Yeah.
So who do you think the team's going to be for the refs next year? I mean, it's been the Chiefs for how long? And there's all the talk that they're against the Lions for the longest time because the Lions were getting hit with all the calls against them. But yeah. Is it going to be the Chiefs again? I think it probably will be.
I think everybody's getting sick of that storyline, so they're going to have to pick another team here pretty soon. It may be the Chiefs again this year, but they're going to have to pick somebody. There's only so much they can do with the, what's her name?
Patrick Mahomes?
No. Well, yeah.
The singer.
Oh, Taylor Swift? Tay-Tay?
Taylor Swift, yeah.
You're not a Swiftie?
I picked up one of those Swift mops. They work pretty good.
Now you gave her the idea. Now she's going to hear. Yeah, no. Started endorsing the Swiffer.
I bought 3 just in case the price went up after conversation.
There you go. Might need to buy some stock.
Which one, for the Swifty or Swift?
Oh, for both, maybe, I guess.
I don't know. I think they're twins.
I don't know.
There is
They
a
look kinda
difference.
like-
Swift and Swifties. There are a difference there, you know, Tom.
But he's saying that mop looks
cleanup
just like
process
it.
I don't know. Maybe they'll start kissing up to the Eagles because they won the Super Bowl last year. They didn't help the Chiefs much.
They just didn't have the
Push for the Lions last year, so I think there was a lot of NFL push for the Lions last year too. But I am glad to see the Lions finally get some improving their game. They were in such a hole for such a long time.
Yeah, well, that's what I can't figure out. I know that the Lions were teased a lot and really downgraded a lot. But how come back years ago, there was one point when they called the Vikings Queens.
Vikings.
Yeah,
see that
because
quite a
they
bit.
were playing lousy, they get called that, But do you hear?
But I don't know what stands behind it. Do you know, Dano?
Huh?
I remember hearing it, but I don't know what the stance behind it was.
Well, part of it was because the Vikings weren't playing all that great, so they were called the Vike Queens. It's like,
Huh?
they get out there and just like move around on the field and just like they didn't really do anything. So, yeah, but the Vikings were called that. But like the Bears, they you know, some games they play good, but other times they play lousy. What? Do you hear any slander like that? Are they called the Bear Queens or anything like that? Same
Maybe they're the Cubs, like the baseball team. They're playing the wrong sport.
Yeah.
Them boys some golf clubs, I think.
The only other news I heard about was Van Ginkel's extension. I'm not sure if we talked about that, but he got extended.
Yeah, in fact, he thanks the Will for the extension. And the question brought up to him was, okay, was he the one that wanted to negotiate for the extension, or was that between his agent, or how did that play out? And he said that he was the one that made the initiative for to get the extension because he liked it. They're in the cities and liked you know, the organization, the family, you know, how the Vikings treat the families and whatever. And he said it meant a lot to his wife and kids and whatever. And he wanted to stay. So,
Well, happy to have him for sure. I think that he's even going to break out a little more this year with them beefing up our defense a little more, so he can, you know, play that position, taking the quarterback and stuff a lot more, you know, instead of having alternate around as much. So
well, I'm sure you'll still, some plays there, snaps, you'll go out for coverage, you know, but otherwise, he'd probably be there to meet any quarterback that can't run up the middle to go to the side or Gernard's side, you know. Yeah. But, you know, he's glad.
Well, you started it. I wasn't going to cut you off. Why you got to do that? Now I forgot where I was at. Some timers got me.
Finally gets the opportunity to speak.
I was all excited, and now I forgot what I was doing.
Anyway,
Too.
yeah, now you know my issues that time I get the brain parts, you know, it just like a couple weeks ago, it was contagious. Everybody had the brain parts. Remember what Radford?
I mean,
Yep. Happens to the best of us.
No, I'm glad that he would sign the extension and, you know, he's you know, close to Minnesota, living, you know, in the tri-state area there, you know, Wisconsin, Iowa. He's from Iowa, so.
It's good to have a player on defense and a player on offense that kind of look like a Viking with Hawkinson and him on defense.
Yeah.
That's a plus.
yeah, the
I
contract
noticed.
for him is pretty hefty.
Well, the thing is, you know, it seemed like defensive or outside linebackers or defensive linemen, mostly outside linebackers, and tight ends. It seemed like a lot of them have that flowing hair out of their helmets.
They had AJ Hawk too at one point.
Hawkinson, didn't that tight end they drafted? Doesn't he have long hair too?
Bartholomew?
Yeah.
Don't believe so.
But he just bought a helmet with long hair attached to it.
It's just in front, party in the back.
How about this real quickly? I did a little bit of homework and I went through the win-loss totals with the Vikings and their upcoming opponents. How about if I go through that real quick, huh? Or you want to
Sure.
save it till next week?
Well, I think we got an hour in. I think we could save it till next week.
Okay, why don't we?
It'll give us some time to think about it too, to ponder it, and actually have some feedback on it. Because otherwise, we're just not really gonna know what to speak about.
Well, that's a good thing because, you know, we can call her a night because the older you get, gravity sucks and the bladder does too, you know. So, anyways, so we good for tonight?
I think
Well,
catch everybody.
Let me put this
Yeah,
out
we'll
there.
catch everybody.
Everybody out there, thank you for watching. Please, if you enjoyed the show, hit the like button, subscribe. Please, anything else, leave a comment. That would really help us out. And also, I want to thank Tom, John, and Joe to take time of their busy life and schedules and everything to jump on here with me. Thank you, guys. Love you guys. And I hope you all have a good evening.
All right, Dan, next.